science. Hello friends, let's talk about science. Let's talk about how we can apply science to our capoeira game to really get the edge in our game, in our training, in our athletic performance. We are going to look at the energy systems today. Now the energy systems are essentially our fuel tank, where we get energy and how we use them throughout our lives, throughout our activities that we do in our daily lives, and especially when we're playing our capoeira game. There are three main energy tanks that we're using. We're going to talk about all three. There are some in particular that we use more in capoeira, and those are the ones that I want to spend more time in to talk about in depth so that you can train better, use it to really get good at using that energy source. One thing that's important to understand, even though they're three separate energy tanks, they all work together. Our body is one unit, and therefore everything is connected. If I'm using predominantly one energy source or tank for fuel, there's a good chance that the two others are doing something. They're never completely shut down. They might be used at 10%, 20%, while the other one is used at more of a capacity, maybe at 70%. All right, so it's important to understand that even though they're three different systems, they all work together. So we'll talk about our aerobic system first. So this system here, this is the energy tank that we have the most of, where we can get the most energy to do our daily activities, to do things that are a long distance or longer duration. And we have here a little bit of an explanation that I'll share with you. Usually the activities that's going to mainly use our aerobic system as fuel are going to be 3 minutes or over. So anything that lasts 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, your whole day that is continuous is going to use the aerobic system. And here we have our little friend, our little capoeirista clapping. It takes about 1 on 1 or 1 times 3 here to rest and replenish the energy that we use. That means that if I've done something that predominantly used the aerobic system of about 3 minutes, I take maybe 3 minutes rest here, and I should feel a lot better to continue with something else that cost me about the same thing. Obviously, I can't go on the whole day doing that. I will have to stop my training and relax. But through about of an hour or so, if I'm doing activity that is low intensity, about 3 minutes or more, I should take the same amount of time to rest and I should be good. If you're not feeling it, that just means that you need a little bit more rest. It's either 1 to 1 or 1 to 3. So you can multiply by 2 or by 3, or you can simply shut it down for the day and say that's enough training. I'm going to rest and I'm going to come back to it today, tomorrow, or the next day after. The aerobic system is a very, very complex system. So the energy is stored in our muscle here. So this is a representation here of our muscle. And we'll use different sources of fuel to really use that energy. So we have our sugar, that is glucose. We have our fats that's floating around in our body. And sometimes as well, we can break down protein through our liver to turn into sugar. So the aerobic system is really, really good at using almost anything lying around and putting it through our muscle and then creating energy. So that sugar that was in our muscle gets turned into glycolysis, the fat gets break down, and with a lot of strong help from oxygen used with these fluids, we can fuel our energy source and use that energy to do low intensity type of exercise. So it's important to understand that aerobic system, even though we have a lot of it, it's not a very powerful fuel source. It doesn't make explosive energy. It's that nice and easy going long system. Now, if we look at glycolysis or our sugar system, we got two systems within this one. We're going to look at our muscle yet again. So this time, to use the fuel, the muscle will only let sugar in, so it gets turned into glycolysis as we saw. If we're doing something very quickly, I'm talking about something that lasts 15 seconds to 30 seconds, then we are going to use the fast glycolysis system, and we won't have time to use oxygen. Oxygen here for the aerobic system is very effective, but it is a slow process. If we're doing something that is very, very quick action, lots of energy, then we don't have time to invite oxygen to create energy. So we're going to use the fast glycolysis system, but due to using this system, it will create lactate as a byproduct. So lactate will be through our system, and it's kind of like that garbage that's being used, or that candy wrap that we toss away after eating a delicious chocolate bar. If we're going a little bit further, so 1 to 3 minutes, just at the threshold of our aerobic system, oxygen will help us, but you can see here it's not as strong, right? It'll jump into the slow glycolysis system. So predominantly sugar, a little bit of oxygen, and we can last a little bit longer. But our fast glycolysis produces much more energy, and our slow glycolysis a little bit less. If I'm playing around and I need to rest and clap my hands in the roda, it's going to be a rest of 1 to 2 or even 1 to 5. So that means if I go for a game of 1 minute, I might need to rest up to 5 minutes, provided that the intensity is equal to the system I'm using. If I'm nice and relaxed and I'm breathing, I'm probably not using my glycolysis system. Glycolysis system doesn't use much oxygen, which means that we're huffing and puffing, we're going really, really quickly. So it's not the same. You have to use that intensity in order to ignite the right system. The last system is pure energy. So very, very small here, but we pop it open and we get what's called ATP, which is our pure energy. ATP is the energy that all of the systems produce, but for our phosphagen system, it's right there, ready, available to explode. We're jumping, we're kicking, we're very, very fast. We're doing fast games of about 5 to 10 seconds. After 5 or 10 seconds of intense game, there's no more to be found, or not a lot. If you slow down and you continue playing, you're not using your phosphagen system anymore. You're in your glycolysis, and if you burn out that fuel, then you're in your aerobic system. It doesn't mean that you're not training, that you're not doing things. It just means that you're not training the right system. You're going down gears a little bit. And we need to understand that as smart capoeiristas, because if we train one system, if we want to be the fastest that we can, you look at your game, you find yourself slow, you want to target the phosphagen, the glycolysis system, then you need to respect the rest. If you're trying to go as fast as you can with just a little bit of energy, you're going 30 seconds or plus, this will not work, right? You'll be predominantly here, so you'll be training this system. This is okay, but it's not as powerful as this. As mentioned, they all work together, but you need to be smart at what you do. Did you know that most capoeira games last 30 to 45 seconds? I'm talking about your regional games where it's a fast beat, you're playing, you're going in. It's about the average of a game. right? Where you're playing, kicking, jumping, dodging, and moving quickly. This looks a lot like our glycolysis system. This is one system that I would definitely emphasize on training more within Capoeira. The aerobic system is great to have as a backup. It makes you recover, it's nice. But if you only spend time here, you're never gonna be quick. You're never gonna be powerful. Therefore, you have to know the systems in order to train them well. I'm going to share with you just a little snippet of an exercise that you can do. I like to use an object. It could be a chair, it could be anything. You place it in a space where you have enough room to move around. You start a clock on your phone or anywhere else of about 30 seconds, 45 seconds, whatever you feel comfortable, and you let loose. You play as fast as you can, as hard as you can, targeting mostly the glycolysis system, and you take the right amount of rest, whether it's 1 minute, 2 minutes, or if personally you need to just rest for 5 minutes more, you take that time so that you're explosive during your bout. So let's see what I did. And this is just an example of what you do. After moving around, you rest, you relax for the appropriate amount of time, and you start again. You do a few sets of that. Maybe you start with 3, maybe you start with 4, maybe you start with 5. I would suggest, because it's more of a power or explosive type of movement, to do this at the beginning of your session and not at the end when your sugar levels are going to be low. I hope that this helped you. I hope that this educated you or put you on the right track. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please leave them to me, and I would love to talk to you about more of how we can implement science within our Capoeira game and really get that edge. So thanks for watching again. Always appreciated, and we'll see you next time on the next show.